For over 40 years, Dick Enberg was a living legend in the world of sports broadcasting. Late last night, this wonderful ambassador of sports broadcasting passed away at the age of 82 due to a heart attack. And tonight, on this edition of Strictly Sports NFL Friday, we are going to dedicate this show in loving memory of the one and only Dick Enberg. Hello, friends, and welcome to Week 16 of Strictly Sports NFL Friday. I am Anthony Florio here with you, joined by Michael Bullock. Good old MF Michael Fletcher. He's going to be coming in just a little bit. He instructed us to start the show without him. So while we wait for him to come in, I found out about it a little after 1 o'clock this morning. I read an article and I found an article on Yahoo Sports, and I looked into it just to be sure this was legitimate, and it was. And Dick Enberg, a broadcasting hero, not just to me, but to Michael Bullock, and I also know Michael Fletcher was very much inspired by Dick Enberg. I mean, Michael Fletcher would often emulate Dick Enberg's legendary catchphrase, "Oh my!" So many of his legendary calls, and one of the things I love about Fletcher's commentary. But nonetheless, he was a living legend in the world of sports. I mean, he did it all. He did football, he did baseball, did some hoops, and I also know he worked tennis as well. And
and the Masters as well on CBS.
yes, Bullock, indeed, the Masters on CBS as well. And I best remember him with all those Super Bowls. I mean, he used to call so many Super Bowls back in the day. I think he also did some Olympic coverage as well. And you know, it is what it is, and he's surely going to be missed. And right now, Michael Bullock, I'm going to have you for a brief moment, because we got a lot to get into here tonight. If you'd like to share a few of your favorite Dick Enberg memories, and it's what a loss. I mean, we've had so many close to home deaths this year. Not as many as last year, but the last few months we've had a lot of close to home deaths. I mean, you think about it: Bobby Heenan, Monty Hall from Let's Make a Deal, Tom Petty. And the list goes on and on and on. But this one right here, I think this is as close to home as it gets, especially for us sports fans.
Yeah, he was definitely a legend. I mean, he, like you said, he basically did everything. I mean, called a lot of NFL games, especially some of the playoff games that he worked with when he worked with the what was it Dan Dierdorf from CBS, and the one crazy game that I remember that he called was that matchup in the 2005 playoffs with the Indianapolis Colts and the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, what a game that was. I mean, many people thought the Colts were going to win that, but the Steelers looked like they were on their way to winning it, and then basically Jerome Bettis fumbled the football, and basically the Colts almost had a chance to win it, but Vanderjagt basically missed it wide right. I mean, I'm pretty sure you remember that game, Florio, very well. I mean, and I'm pretty, and of course, the one Super Bowl I do remember that he called. Well, there's a couple that I remember that he called. Uh, Super Bowl 20 with the Patriots and the Bears. Uh, and of course, Super Bowl 32 uh, with the Green Bay Packers and the Denver Broncos, and the Broncos' first ever Super Bowl title. And basically, of course, yeah, he did. He did the Masters coverage on CBS, basically telling the story of what happened during the tournament when he was inside historic Butler cabin. I mean, what a combo that was for it. I mean, with Jim Nance calling the Masters, and then you got Dick Enberg inside Butler cabin with his take on the Masters. I mean, that's a pretty good combo right there. If I'm going to be quite honest there, and of course, he's done some, of course, baseball, of course, with the Padres, and I'll always remember him for his famous catchphrase, "Oh my!" I mean that I always get chills whenever he says that. So, and what a bad timing for this. I mean, this close to Christmas time, and the entire family's gonna. I mean, their Christmas is not going to be the same without this guy. And I mean, our thoughts and condolences are with the entire Enberg family. So rest easy, Dick, and hopefully we'll see you again soon, my friend. Let's
Yes, indeed.
yeah, let's just move on, Florio.
Yeah. Yeah, you talked about those Super Bowls, and and I too will also never forget that AFC divisional playoff with the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Indianapolis Colts at the RCA Dome when the Steelers upset the Colts. The Colts were heavily favored that year. I mean, that game went from being an absolute dud to a five-star classic and one of the greatest divisional playoff games of all time. And yeah, he had some great moments during that. But I'll never forget Super Bowl 23 with the Bengals and the 49ers when he said Montana and he said touchdown, John Taylor. Yeah, awesome. And then Jason Elam set an NFL record with, I believe, a 62 or 63-yard field. I think he tied the record in a game in '98. And he was like, "It is good. Oh my!" And, oh, it's one thing when you heard Dick Enberg do it. It's another thing when you hear Michael Fletcher do it. I mean, when he does the "oh my," I mean, I get chills as well. But and one other call that I'll never forget in college basketball, I believe it was in 2004 when the University of Alabama Birmingham upset Kentucky. I'll never forget when he said, "Oh my, the upset! UAB has knocked off Kentucky." Man, I'll never forget that. That was another one of my favorite Dick Emmer calls. The "oh my" thing that really did it for me. And Michael Fletcher, I'll tell you, Michael Fletcher, he picked up on that "oh my" and he ran with it. And I hope he hurries up and gets in here because I really want to get a quick thought from him.
And he's worked with a lot of great analysts. Like I said, Dan Deerdorf was one of them.
Merlin Olsen.
And of course, for that Super Bowl 32, of course, he had a couple of guys. Phil Simms, obviously.
Paul McGuire.
And Paul, yeah, exactly, Paul McGuire.
There's an F. All right. Perfect timing, MF. I'm sure you got the word. I'm sure you heard about the sad news as you see on my screen share. I know this is very close to home for you because I know how much Dick Enberg influenced you and your broadcasting style. And the one thing, I just said it to Bullock and our viewers, it's one thing when Dick Enberg said "oh my," but it was another thing when you did it as well.
This was a heartbreaking day. I think we all kind of were shocked. We all were stunned. Dick Enberg, he is an icon, a legend in the world of professional sports. I know a lot of people loved him when he was doing the NFL on NBC, especially in the 80s and the early 90s. But he was still a part of that sports realm. He was with a CBS for a little while, being the play-by-play guy over there. But not only that, but he was also an influence in golf. He did a little bit of some of the Masters. He did some U.S. Open events and whatnot. The Major Four. You heard his iconic voice in that. And then in tennis, he was a very integral part of the Major Four, on NBC when they had it, and then jumped over to CBS for the U.S. Open coverage when they had it. And then later in his career on ESPN, covering the Major Four. And of course, especially towards the end of his career, he was the play-by-play and the voice of the San Diego Padres, being that the voice of the Padres for a couple of years until his retirement just about a year or so ago. So, I mean, yeah, wherever you are, you remember his voice, his iconic voice, doing many great games. He was responsible for the Snow Bowl game, the Miami Dolphins versus the Dallas Cowboys in Texas Stadium on Thanksgiving Day, or one of the infamous calls that he had was the Leon Lett, the fumble at the end zone. Or when John Elway won the Super Bowl, finally won the Super Bowl in Super Bowl 32. He was the play-by-play guy for that memorable moment in baseball history. So, I mean, in football, I should say, he broadcast Andy Roddick when he won the U.S. Open, doing the signature "Oh my" to Andy during his interview, and Andy saying, you know what, it doesn't get any better than this. I got an oh my from Dick Enberg. So he knew what it meant. You know, he was there for Agassi's championship wins, Sampras's championship wins, the dawning of the era of the Williams sisters. He was there for that. The dawning of Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal when they won their major championships. He was the voice of major big events in sports. And for us, it was not just a blessing, it was an honor for him. In the NBA, he was there when the Denver Nuggets stunned the NBA world and won and beat what was undoubtedly practically the favorites to win the 1993 NBA Finals or the NBA championship in 93, which was the
94.
94, I stand corrected. In 94, when the Supersonics looks like they were going to be the team that was going to win the championship, and they got upended by an upstart Denver Nuggets team, the 8-1, the infamous 8-1 upset. Nobody saw that coming. And then, of course, his contributions in the NCAA men's college basketball tournament. I mean, there's really nothing to say about that. When Kentucky fell and they were a #1 seed and they fell early in the tournament, and he coined it the "oh my," the upset, which I actually still do to this day as an homage to Dick Enberg whenever there's a major upset in the NCAA tournament. So without a doubt, he is an integral part of what sports is. I mean, there's many guys that was definitely synonymous, and we know their voices, and we know, you know, from Chick Hearn, who did the Laker games, to the infant. I think it's Anthony. You know, who is the voice of the Boston Celtics?
Oh, Johnny Most.
Johnny Moats. We know his voice iconically, you know, and Vince Scully, even though he is still alive, you know, but he's up there in age. I think he's like 88, 89 years old. Dick Enberg, without a doubt, is that voice. He was the voice for us for a number of years, a number of iconic moments in sports that we will never forget. And for me, yes, when I first started it, I did coin a little bit from Dick Enberg. I use a little bit from Gary Thorne, Doc Emmerich, you know, all these guys that I bring to each event. You know, even though I'm no longer the voice of the NFL, I still do it a lot for baseball. I do it especially for the NCAA tournament on the voice for that. So I still have a little bit of those moments that I can carry from, that he's definitely an integral part of my life as a broadcaster. And for that, I appreciate everything that he did. And, you know, it's a shame because, you know, we're going to get to listen to him on archives forever, but not to hear his angelic voice, you know, for the upcoming baseball season or for the next NCAA tournament it's gonna be a gaping hole, no doubt about it, that we're gonna be missing. It definitely for years and years to come. So nothing more to say, but my thoughts and prayers are out to the Emberg family, and I wish them nothing but the best. A lot of love. This guy was an icon. He was a legend, and the thing is, I'll take a quote from The Sandlot, and this is actually a very true, infamous sentence. Heroes are remembered, but legends never die. This man was not just a legend. He was an influence and an icon for all sports broadcasters
Amen.
around the world.
Amen.
Anthony Florio, it is all yours.
Before I take it back, MF, can you hit us with one more? I want to hear one more of those out of you, as an homage to Dick Enberg.
You want me to do it?
Hit me with it. You know how to do it.
Oh my!
Perfect. Absolutely.
Awesome. Awesome.
Now you know why I get chills, Bullock? I mean,
whew. Couldn't have done it any better than that.
No, I mean, from now on, MF, you're going to be the my bearer around here. So on behalf of all of us here at Strictly Sports, we want to send our deepest thoughts, our deepest prayers, and our deepest condolences to the family, friends, and all who were fortunate enough to work with Dick Enberg, including my good friend Julie Alexandria, who was the sideline reporter for the San Diego Padres a couple years ago, and she obviously posted something on her Twitter, and I responded, and I told her that we were going to dedicate this show tonight to his memory, and she gave it a thumbs up. She gave it a like on Twitter, and so Dick Enberg, tonight, this show is for you. That's all there is to say on that, and we'll post this graphic back up when we end the show tonight. So,
goodbye,
right,
Dick Enberg.
Yes, indeed. Yes, thank you indeed, Dick Enberg, for all you did, and we'll get to all that at the end of the show. So, all right, with all that being said, let's get right into the next set of action here. It's Week 16. All 16 games on the slot. No Thursday games, although they've been moved to Saturdays. So with all that being said, guys, let's start with our first game of the week. It'll kick off tomorrow afternoon at 4:30 on the NFL Network, for those of you who may have it. It's going to be a special Saturday edition of Thursday Night Football. We're going to have a CBS twang to it. I'll explain that in a minute, but it'll be the Indianapolis Colts squaring off against the Baltimore Ravens from M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore. This game will be on the NFL Network. And I say it's going to have a CBS feel because a CBS crew is working this game. It's going to be Greg Gumbel with Trent Green and the beautiful Jamie Erdahl. They will be there in Baltimore. And the spread, well, needless to say, Baltimore is a humongous favorite. They're 13 to 14 point favorites. And I'm also want to forewarn you folks. A lot of our spreads this week are going to be double-digit spreads. I looked at the spreads, and a lot of these are going to be double digits, and this is one of them. 13 to 14 in favor of the Ravens. Although Indianapolis leads the all-time series 8-3, the last meeting was 2014 in Indianapolis, and the Colts won that 20-13. Last meeting in Baltimore was actually a playoff game. It was a wild card game when the Ravens beat the Colts 24-9 in January of 2013, when the Ravens started their road to the Super Bowl. Their last regular season meeting in Baltimore was 2011. Baltimore also won that 24-10. The Colts have not won in Baltimore since 2009. That was a 17-15 final. So I believe we have all the schematics out of the way. Obviously, this is not one of the games of the week, so let's dive on in. 8 quarters is all the Colts have left in their worst season since 2011. To their credit, they haven't quit on Coach Chuck Pagano despite their season-long struggles. Those woes, especially in the second half of contest, will continue in Baltimore against the Ravens. Indianapolis has been outscored 223-91 in the second half and overtime of games this season. The Colts are in a youth movement because of the number of injuries that they've been ravaged with this season. Meanwhile, the Ravens need the victory to stay in playoff contention. Indianapolis suffers what I consider to be its seventh double-digit loss of the year. The Ravens will beat the unraveling Colts, and they'll do so resoundingly. Baltimore has too much momentum and motivation on its side. Winners of 4 of their past 5. The Ravens can clinch a wild card berth by winning their final 2 games, and they catch another major break in the schedule by playing a backup quarterback, Jacoby Brissett instead of Andrew Luck. And 2 of Baltimore's 3 shutouts this season have come against a fill-in passer, Miami's Matt Moore and Green Bay's Brett Hundley. The Colts have scored the second fewest points in the NFL, so it's time to ring up another shutout. So I think they will get a shutout. I can certainly see it. So I'm going to go with the Baltimore Ravens to win it. My final score, 24-0. Nothing more to say. MF, Colts are done. But the Ravens, they need to win out if they want to have any chance of making it.
And that's going to be a very interesting situation because of the fact that, yes, there will be a lot of clinching scenarios, but Anthony, you basically stole my thunder on this one. You're absolutely right. All you got to do is basically, like you said, simple enough. Win, and you are in. Slam the door, get everything that you need to get done, because after that, there is no more opportunities. So you get a victory there. You get 2 wins. You slam the door. You get the postseason berth, and more importantly, your dream of playing in the postseason is there for the taking. So absolutely, they are fighting for something here, and at the end of the day, I think they're gonna get it done. So for me, I got the Ravens winning as well in a laugher. Nothing more to say. Michael Bullock, I give it to you.
Yeah, like you basically said, the Ravens basically need to win out if they have any shot of making the postseason. And well, this should definitely be an easy one for the Ravens. But you got to give the Colts credit. I mean, yeah, they are not playing well, but they're continuing to try to fight hard for Coach Chuck Pagano here. So, but it's basically not going to be enough. So, and that defense of the Ravens has been continuing to play really well. It's going to continue right here. I agree. Ravens win 24-0 the final. Let's just move on to our next Saturday game.
And this will be a special Saturday night edition of Sunday Night Football on NBC, because there will be no Sunday night game on Christmas Eve. They're going to be showing the world-renowned holiday classic, It's a Wonderful Life. Awesome. So, but nonetheless, this game would have been on Sunday night, but they're putting it on Saturday night instead. But what a treat anyway. It's going to be the Minnesota Vikings squaring off against the Green Bay Packers on the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. This will be on NBC. The Sunday night crew will be there. Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, Michelle Tafoya. Minnesota favored. Of course, they're favored by 8-9. That's the spread. They met earlier this year, back on October the 15th in Minneapolis, and it was the Vikings that beat the Packers 23-10. And if you all remember in that game, the Minnesota Vikings not only won the game, not only beat the Packers in the game, but they also took out Aaron Rodgers. And that's where the Packers' downward spiral literally began right then and there. So much to the point that the Green Bay Packers, for the first time in a long time, will not be going to the postseason. And what a damn shame, too. But definitely took some luster out of this game. So they met earlier in the year. Minnesota won 23-10 in Minneapolis. So that cut the Green Bay lead in the regular season series to 59-50 with 2 ties. Last year, they met on Christmas Eve. Green Bay won that one 38-25. Minnesota's last win in Green Bay was the year before, 2015. That was a 20-13 final. I believe that was on a Sunday night game as well. So, and believe it or not, guys, I don't understand this for the life of me. This game came in as the game of the week, according to the FPI Game Rater. You would think a game that is not going to have Aaron Rodgers because he's they put him on IR because their season's over. But still, they're putting it as the game of the week. Mind-boggling. But nonetheless, Minnesota, Green Bay, here and now. MF, come on in. Green Bay, we know they're out by virtue of Atlanta's scraper of a win over Tampa on Monday night. And then from there, Minnesota, they've won the North. But what do they have to do in order? Well, what are they playing for? First round bye, home field? What?
Well, they're still playing for the first round bye. That is definitely correct, Anthony. Because basically they won the division. They already clinched the playoff spot. They can get the first round bye if they win out, because they still got to deal with the Rams and they got to deal with the Saints, who are one game behind them. So there's still some work to do. And on top of that, they actually still have a chance at home field throughout the playoffs. With a win, they have to win out, and some way, somehow, Philly is going to have to get tripped up somewhere along the way. So there's actually still a scenario where Minnesota could actually win it all. All roads could still lead through Minnesota. As long as the Eagles drops one and Minnesota has to win out, they cannot lose their final two games. If they lose one and the Eagles wins one, then Philadelphia clinches it and it's done. It's over. So very, very, very important for at least the Vikings. Even though Green Bay is out, they could definitely play spoiler here and really mess things up around, especially at the top of the NFC race. Because, like I said, you got Minnesota at 11-3, the Rams are at 10-4, the Saints are at 10-4, and the Panthers are still in it, believe it or not. So there's still a lot of moving parts. So 1 through 5, even 1 through 6 is not a given. 1 through 6 at least is the way to determine the wild card and the division and whatever is still not a done deal. We still got a long way to go to deal with this in 2 weeks. So it's going to get very topsy-turvy. Yes, the injury to Aaron Rodgers, them shutting him down after the broken collarbone injury, understandable, the right thing to do. They had nothing to play for. Why risk further injury on Aaron Rodgers? Just shut him down. Let him finish the season. He's done. As far as the rest thing goes, well, we're just going to have to wait and see. But for me, I got nothing bad to say. Vikings win. They will clinch at least the first round bye, and then we'll see where they go from there. So I got Minnesota winning. Michael Bullock, I give it to you.
Yeah, this Minnesota Green Bay rivalry won't have the same luster, the same feel that would have if Aaron Rodgers were playing in this game. But yeah, I do agree. The Green Bay Packers, I mean, we knew they were going to do this. We thought that if they were going to be out of playoff contention, that they were just going to shut down Aaron Rodgers for the rest of the season because there's really nothing to play for. So Brent Hundley is going to get a chance to start the final 2 games of the regular season and really has a chance to make a name for himself in these final 2 games, especially in this game. But Minnesota, like you said, has got a lot to play for, especially that not just the home field. I mean, not just the first round bye, but a chance to have the road to Super Bowl 52 on the NFC side go through Minnesota. So there's still plenty to play for them, but I think they should win this one easily. I'm going to say my final score is going to be 24-10. Minnesota beats Green Bay. So Florio, it is yours.
I still don't get how this game's the game of the week. I still don't get it. With the Vikings having clinched already and the Packers eliminated, this game lost some of the luster it could have possessed had Green Bay pulled out a win against Carolina. It became even less intriguing after the Packers placed Aaron Rodgers on injured reserve on Tuesday. Had Rodgers played, the Vikings' chance to win this one would have been only 52%. And while Minnesota has the division locked up, that move matters to them. It still needs to secure a first-round bye and still is barely in contention for the number 1 seed in the NFC. 1 year after their last meeting at Lambeau Field, the fortunes of the Vikings and Packers are reversed. Minnesota needs to win its final 2 games to lock up a first-round bye, and Green Bay is out of playoff contention. The Vikings defense made Brett Hundley's relief outing in these rivals' Week 6 meeting pretty miserable after he was sacked 4 times and threw 3 interceptions. Hundley is 1-3 at home this season, averaging 131 yards passing with no TD passes and 5 interceptions in 4 starts at Lambeau. Against the 3rd best passing defense in the NFL that has only allowed 13 touchdown passes this season, forget about it. Vikings win. Merry Christmas. Brett Hundley has thrown 8 touchdown passes this season, none of them at Lambeau Field, where he must face the NFL's number 2 scoring defense. The Packers are playing out the string. The Vikings are playing for a first-round bye. Lambeau could be half empty or filled with Minnesota fans on what's expected to be a bitter cold night. So, nothing more to say on this. I got Minnesota. I'm going to say Minnesota wins in a laugher, guys. I'm going to go 45-17. Minnesota all over the Green Bay Packers. So with that being said, let's move on to the Sunday slate of games now. And not just any Sunday slate of games. Christmas Eve. We got some stocking stuffers for you guys. 12 of them to be exact. So let's dive on into the first one. This game will be at 1 o'clock on Fox. It's going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers squaring off against the Carolina Panthers at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina. Fox will have the game, and it will be Kenny Albert on the call. Kenny Albert with Rondé Barber and Christina Pink. And I believe this is another one of our double-digit spreads. I said there were going to be a lot of them. Here's another one. Carolina, a 10.5 to 11.5 point favorite against Tampa Bay. They met earlier this season, back on October 29th in Tampa, and Carolina won handily 17-3. So Carolina now leads the all-time series 21-13, including that win. Tampa Bay won in Carolina last year, 17-14. But Carolina won at home against them in 2015, 38-10. I don't believe this game came in as one of our top 5 games of the week. Let me just check it to be sure. No, it did not. So, all right, Michael Bullock, we're going to start this one off with you. Tampa Bay and Carolina. Tampa Bay gave Atlanta some fits the other night. Can they go into Charlotte and give Carolina some fits while Carolina is still, in playoff contention?
Well, the thing that I always like to say is that a team that's dangerous is a team that basically has nothing to play for, and that's the thing with Tampa Bay. I mean, especially after what we saw on Monday night. So, could they give Carolina some fits in this game on Sunday? Who knows? I mean, it's a possibility, but let's be quite honest. I mean, Carolina. I mean, obviously they still got a lot to play for. There's still a chance for them to basically to remain in contention for the NFC South. So, yeah, and here's the thing I just found out, and I know I'd like to get into this, but I'm actually going to take care of it. If the Carolina Panthers win on Sunday afternoon, then they would clinch a playoff spot. So all they have to do is win, and they're in the playoffs. So, and they've been on an absolute tear, winning 6 out of their last 7 games. So I mean, like I said, I mean, could Tampa Bay hang in with them? It's a possibility, but let's be quite honest. Carolina, like I said, they've been playing really well as of late. So I'm going to go with the Carolina Panthers to win this one. I'm going to say my final score is going to be 28-14. Carolina wins and clinches a spot in the postseason. So, Florio, it's yours.
The Bucks lost 10 players to injury on Monday night against the Falcons and narrowly lost 24-21. Excuse me. But they might not have much of a team left when they head to Charlotte to play the Panthers. Tight end O.J. Howard, safety Justin Evans, and offensive guard J.R. Sweezy were placed on injured reserve this week, along with cornerback Vernon Hargraves III, who had been out more than a month. Wide receiver Deshaun Jackson missed practice this week with an ankle injury. Cameron Bratt has been hobbled by knee and hip injuries, and Levante David has been limited by a hamstring injury. The Panthers have a lot riding on this one, tied with New Orleans at 10-4. A win, like Bullock said, clinches a playoff spot and keeps Carolina in contention for the NFC South title. The Panthers held the Bucks to 3 points in an October win in Florida, and they're playing much better offensively. Tampa Bay is banged up, so it's hard to imagine this one will be close, even with Carolina outside linebacker Thomas Davis suspended. I'm going with Carolina to win as well. Almost the exact same score for you, Bullock. I'm going to take it down a little notch here. Carolina, I have Carolina winning as well. My final score, I'm going to go 28-13. That's my final score, 28-13 in favor of Carolina. So, MF, come on in. Does Bullock's story check out about Carolina clinching a spot with a win?
Yes, there is. That does check out. Or there is one other scenario. If the Cowboys and the Seahawks ends in a tie, Carolina gets in on that front. But wait, there's a lot more drama coming up. So there's some crazy scenarios here tonight, folks. So buckle up your chin straps. It's gonna get pretty. It's gonna get. Be ready for a pretty wild ride tonight. That's all I'm gonna say. So yes, Carolina can win with a win or a tie, or if Dallas and Seattle ends in a tie. If that happens, then it's done. So we'll wait and see what happens. But at the end of the day, yes, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. It's just going to be, it's going to be interesting. So I think Carolina wins it. I think they do get the playoff spot. Anthony, it's yours.
All right, fellas. This is one of the loser games of the week, or well, actually, this is the Zonk game of the week on our side of the ledger. Oh boy, the Cleveland Browns squaring off against the Chicago Bears at Soldier Field in Chicago. This game will be broadcast on CBS. Excuse me. We got Tom McCarthy with Steve Berline and Steve Tasker on the call. Chicago, 6.5 to 7 point favorites. Series history: Cleveland leads the all-time series 9-6. The last meeting was 2013 in Cleveland. Chicago won 38-31. Last meeting in Chicago was 2009. Bears won that one handily, 30-6. If you're wondering, have the Cleveland Browns ever won in Chicago? Yes, they have. When was the last time they did it? Guys, we got to go all the way back to 1969. 1969. That's the last time the Browns came out of Soldier Field with a win, 28-24. But since then, it's been all Chicago, in Chicago, against the Browns. So, and obviously this is not in our top 5 games of the week because we consider this the Zonk game of the week, well, at least on our side of the ledger. So there is not much on paper that screams out this will be the Browns' first win of the season, except that the Bears' offense is averaging fewer yards a game and fewer passing yards than the Browns. Then there is this. Hugh Jackson's last 2 wins while coaching the Raiders in 2011 and with the Browns last year have come on Christmas Eve. And this game is on Christmas Eve. Something to think about. It's a Christmas miracle. No, not Cleveland notching its first victory of the year, but rather the Bears picking up their first win as favorites in the dismal John Fox era. Chicago 0-7 when favorites since 2015. But here's the saving grace for the Bears. They are the kings of the AFC North because they beat Pittsburgh, they beat Baltimore, and they beat Cincinnati. Why not Cleveland too? I'm going with the Chicago Bears to win. It's going to be a very low-scoring, very sloppy game. Praise God, we're not getting it. 13-10, Chicago over Cleveland. Nothing more to say. MF, your thoughts on the Zonk game of the week, at least on our side of the ledger.
Yeah, on our side of the ledger, this is the Zonk game of the week. And going into this, I actually was pulling for Cleveland to win. I know. I probably lost my mind on this one. However, because of what Anthony had just said, and I kind of was talking to a few people that I know, sorry, Cleveland, I can't do it. I got to go with Chicago. I got to do it. I think Chicago is going to win. It is going to be low scoring. 14-10. Chicago wins. Ugly game. If Cleveland wins, pigs have flown and hell has frozen over. Michael Bullock, I'll give it to you.
Yeah, I'm just going to make it short and sweet. Chicago wins 13-10. Like you said, low scoring affair, so there's really nothing more to say. Let's just move on, Florio.
Well, here comes another Zonk game of the week, this time on the other side, on the Fox side of the ledger. The Detroit Lions squaring off against the Cincinnati Bengals at Paul Brown Stadium in Cincinnati. This game will be on Fox. Tom Brenneman with Chris Spielman and Jen Hale. They'll be on the call. Detroit, 3-point favorites. Series history favors the Cincinnati Bengals 8-3. Matter of fact, the Bengals have won the last 5 meetings in this series. Most recently was 2013 at Ford Field in Detroit. Bengals won 27-24. Last meeting in Cincinnati was 2009. Bengals also won that 23-13. That's also the last time they played in Cincinnati. And the last time the Lions won in Cincinnati, it was the old Riverfront Stadium back in 1992. 19-13. That's the last time the Lions won in Cincinnati when some guy named Barry Sanders was running around. I heard he was pretty good, so that's all I can say on that. And needless to say, this is not a top 5 game of the week. So, MF, we all know Cincy's well out of it. But Detroit, I mean, they're still in the race, aren't they? Or are they out?
Well, I'll say this. They really are on a razor's edge. I mean, they're technically still there. They're viable, but they cannot afford to lose. They're going to need some help. A lot of help. They're going to need either Atlanta to get tripped up. They're going to need Atlanta most definitely to trip up. If they don't trip up, then maybe a Carolina to fall somewhere in the line where they can get one spot, because right now they're on the razor's edge. They basically need really Atlanta to fall. If Atlanta trips up, Detroit gets that 6th spot, then you just got to win. You got to win out and need Atlanta to fall. They got to get tripped up in one of their 2 final games. If that happens, we might be talking about the Lions in the playoffs, but that's the only way we're talking about them getting in. There is no clinching scenario for Minnesota. They can't. I mean, there's no clinching scenario for Detroit, I should say. As of now, they're on the razor's edge. If they lose, they're gone. They're out. If they win, then it really depends on what Atlanta does, Carolina does, and even New Orleans, what they do. Because if they all win out, if they all win this week, it's done. Detroit, you're gone. We write you on the death note. Your playoff chances are deleted at that point. So, we'll wait and see what happens. So, I got Detroit winning to stay alive, but I don't think that'll be enough to get them in. I think we might be saying goodbye to Detroit after Sunday. Just my thoughts alone. Michael Bullock, I give it to you.
Yeah, I got Detroit winning as well, and like you basically said, they need to win to keep their playoff hopes alive, or like you said, if they lose, they'll basically be out. They'll be deleted, and well, let's just say when they lose, if they lose and they're out of the playoffs. There's another thing that I think we should mention, Fletch, as well. I think we should send them into the pit of despair. Dilly. Nothing more to say. Flory, what's yours?
Hey, wait a minute. Hold on. Time out. Before you jump, Florio, it's the pit of misery, not pit of despair. Pit of misery.
All right. It's the pit of misery. It's just been a long day for me.
Yeah, it's been a long day for me too. But
yeah, like ditto on that as well.
Yeah. If the Lions have been good at one thing this season, it has been beating teams they are supposed to beat. And the Bengals fall into that category with an offense that has been among the worst in the NFL. Detroit also is still in the playoff picture, but it has to beat Cincinnati Sunday, and then Green Bay next week, and then hope for chaos in the NFC South. The Lions also have been a better road team this year with a 5-2 record away from Ford Field. Detroit is the more talented team with more to play for. That's the reason the Lions should win, but they never make it easy, oftentimes playing to the level of the competition. So it'll be closer than it should be. Bengals have had back-to-back embarrassing losses, plummeting their offense to last in the league. They're dealing with the possibility of their coach leaving, in addition to a mountain of injuries. The offensive line, which has struggled all season, will probably be down to 2 starting tackles after Andre Smith was placed on IR, and Cedric Ogbuahi missed practice on Wednesday. None of that inspires much confidence that the Bengals will break their losing streak in what could be Marvin Lewis's final home game. But I think it will be closer. I think they'll keep it close. But I think ultimately Detroit will come out of there with a win. My final score, I'm going to go 24-20. The Detroit Lions over the Cincinnati Bengals. So now let's move on to one of the big games of the week on our side of the ledger. I believe we ranked this as our number 2 game of the week, as I recall, when MF and I put our crews together last night. We got the Miami Dolphins squaring off against the Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. This game will be on CBS. Kevin Harlan and Rich Gannon on the call. Kansas City, I'm sorry to say it, MF, they're another one of the double-digit favorites of the week. 10.5 to 12-point favorites for Kansas City. The series is tied 13-13 all time, regular season-wise. Their last meeting was 2014 in Miami. Kansas City won handily 34-15. However, the last meeting in Arrowhead, matter of fact, the last 2 meetings in Arrowhead, Miami has come out on top. 2011, Dolphins pounded the Chiefs 31-3. And then in 2008, Miami escaped with a 38-31 win. Kansas City has not beaten the Dolphins at home since 2002, a wild 48-30 final. This game did not make our top 5 list, although you easily could have made an argument that it could have. Maybe as a high leverage game, I don't know. But Michael Bullock, we start this one off with you. It's Miami and Kansas City. And for the Kansas City Chiefs, it's very simple. Win, and they are AFC West Division champions once again.
Yep. Like you basically said, it's either win or it's a win for Kansas City, and and they will be the AFC West champs once again. And the Miami Dolphins. I mean, they're going to put up a fight here, but let's face it. I mean, Kansas City. I mean, they continue to play better as of late, especially ever since the struggles that they had, not just offensively but defensively as well. and I do expect that streak to continue for them and become AFC West champs. I got the Chiefs winning this one. My final score is going to be 34 to 20. Um, Kansas City beating Miami. So nothing more to say. Yours.
The Dolphins are 2-5 on the road. Injuries are adding up offensively as two starters. Tight end Julius Thomas and guard Jermon Bushrod went on IR this week. Receiver Devontae Parker is also dealing with an ankle injury, hurting the potential firepower it would take to keep up with the Chiefs. And the Chiefs have quietly played better defense in recent weeks. They're tied for 6th in yards allowed per play at 4.9 and 7th in points allowed at fewer than 19 over their past 5 games. The Chiefs are suddenly back in the habit of forcing turnovers. They have 7 takeaways in their last 2 games. The Dolphins, who are 28th in yards and 26th in scoring, won't produce enough offense on the road to win. So, needless for me to say, I got the Kansas City Chiefs winning this game and once again winning the AFC West division. It'll be a simple case of the winners and still AFC West division champions, the Kansas City Chiefs. I have them beating the Miami Dolphins. My final score 27-17, Kansas City over Miami. MF, I mean, I know your Dolphins are pretty much out of it, but Kansas City, very simple, win, and they get the division once again. And what a better place to do it than, I can't think of a better place for them to do it in than in their loudest stadium in the league in Arrowhead.
Yeah, and that not only that, but they don't necessarily need to win the division. If they win, yes, they do win it out. A tie or a Charger loss or tie, that gets it done, or just straight up a Charger loss. So there's 3 scenarios that can happen. Obviously, Kansas City wants to win it. They don't want to back into the playoff or back into the division title because that would be pretty much bleh. But I'll say it. Win and you got the title, or if the Chargers to choke and lose, then you get the division title that way too. So, I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see, but no doubt about it. It's going to be very optimistic, very fun to say the very least. But, congratulations, Kansas City. I think you're going to win the division. So, nothing more to say. Anthony, it's yours.
Are you ready for the Anthony Florio Michael Fletcher game of the week? The Tony and Mikey special. The Buffalo Bills squaring off against the New England Patriots, Gillette Stadium in Foxborough. This game will be on our CBS affiliate, WPRI 12, obviously. And on the call, hello, friends. Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, Tracy Wolfson, they will be at Gillette Stadium in Foxborough for the Bills and the Patriots. New England, of course, a big favorite, another double-digit favorite. This has been our theme of the week. 11.5 to 13-point favorites for the Patriots against Buffalo. They just met a few weeks ago. And MF and I also had that game as well. They met in Buffalo 3 weeks ago, and it was the Patriots doing what they do best, pounded the Buffalo Bills to a pulp, 23-3, to extend their all-time series lead to 70-43 with one tie. New England obviously winning in Buffalo, but however, the Bills won in Buffalo last year, 16-0. But then again, Tom Brady wasn't playing. That was the 4th and final game of his suspension. Their previous meeting, the last time New England won was the year before, 2015. 20-13 was the final in favor of New England. This, and believe it or not, this really surprised me. They ranked this game as the high leverage game of the week, if you can believe that. So, nonetheless, here we go. The Patriots will be going to the playoffs, that we know for sure, but Buffalo's fate isn't quite so clear. FPI currently gives Buffalo a 28% chance of making the playoffs, but should the Bills pull off an upset in Foxborough, their odds would jump to 62%. Should the game go the way FPI projects it will go, the Patriots are 89% favorites, the Bills would still have a glimmer of hope with a 23% chance to sneak in. New England hasn't quite clinched home field advantage or even a first-round bye yet, so it still needs to win in order to hold off Pittsburgh and Jacksonville, which are still alive on both fronts. The Bills have won 3 of their last 4, but over that time, Buffalo has scored a total of 6 points in the second half. The next worst scoring teams, the Browns and the Colts, have scored 20. Coach Sean McDermott chided his team in his locker room speech after last Sunday's win over the Dolphins for getting quote-unquote sloppy later in the game, and for good reason. The Bills might be able to beat lesser opponents despite barely moving the ball in the second half, but it won't happen against New England. The Patriots lead the NFL in red zone takeaways, 6, with one of them proving to be a huge play the last time these teams met. Eric Lee's end zone interception to thwart the Bills' impressive time-consuming first drive. That bend but don't break philosophy has been key for a defense that has been vulnerable in certain areas. For example, ranking last in opponents' average yards per rush at 4.9. With a victory, Tom Brady will stand alone in NFL history with a total of 12 seasons with at least 12 wins, and he should be the difference in this contest, as he is now off the injury report with an Achilles and practicing fully. I would love to see Buffalo put up a fight in this game, but let's be realistic. I don't see that happening. Tom Brady will improve to 31-5 against Buffalo all time since he and Belichick got there. So I got the New England Patriots rolling. No problem. 28-14. New England over Buffalo. I would love to see Buffalo pull off a miracle upset, but let's be realistic. That's not going to happen. They have won in Foxborough twice over the last few years, but one was a meaningless game, and the other, of course, Tom Brady was serving the fourth and final game of that suspension. So 28-14 New England wins. So hello, friends. Michael Fletcher, come on in. MF. Our game of the week. Buffalo and New England one more time. We did it 3 weeks ago. Here we are again, this time in Foxborough. Buffalo on the outside looking in as far as, well, actually, they are the number 6 seed as of right now.
Actually, no, Anthony. As on the CBS one, they have actually, no, you're right. Okay, I stand corrected. I thought they had Baltimore. No, they have Buffalo there. Yes.
Buffalo is the 6, and obviously they need to win out to get it. But New England.
Yep.
But the Patriots, of course, coming off of that. Oh my goodness, that game of the year, game of the century, 5-star
miracle win.
Yep, 5-star Shakespearean drama classic against the Steelers in Pittsburgh. Lived up to the hype and then some. So
yep.
And now they control their own destiny, not just for the first round bye, but also for the home field as well. And I know there's got to be a lot of scenarios in this one for both, which is why you made this, and I agreed 100% our game of the week.
Well, there's only just for New England here. Basically, all they need is a win, a Steeler loss, and a Jacksonville Steel loss or a tie, and that gets them not only the number 1 seed, but the home field throughout the AFC playoffs. For New England to get the first round bye, they need to win, and either a Pittsburgh loss will do it, or a Jacksonville loss or tie will do it, and that clinches it. Or New England can tie with Buffalo, and they just need Jacksonville to just straight up lose, and that clinches the first round bye for the New England Patriots, because they will already have the head-to-head advantage over Pittsburgh in that case. So everything shifts to Jacksonville, and that is how, at least for the first round bye, everything shifts to Jacksonville. But to get the home field throughout, they need both Pittsburgh to drop another game, and they need Jacksonville to drop a game here in the next 2 weeks. If that does happen, then New England gets it all. Home field goes right through Foxborough, and good luck to any team that wants to play in Foxborough against the Patriots. Very rare Patriots drop a game at home. They're almost unbeatable at home. So for Buffalo, yeah, if you win this game, This is huge. This puts you in basically prime real estate. 1 game to go against Miami in Miami. Not an easy place to play either. But if you win that game, you're in the playoffs. You get that golden ticket for the first time in over 17 years. We're talking about the Buffalo Bills in the postseason again, if that happens. So, I do believe New England will win the game, though, because I think New England is just a little better. Even though I know Buffalo's gonna throw everything but the kitchen sink at New England, but it is the Patriots at home. They're gonna be pretty strong, to say the very least. So give me the Patriots to win it. Nick Bullock, I give it to you.
Yeah, I mean, basically, I got New England winning as well, and yeah, I mean, they basically control their own destiny for that number one seed, and basically they just keep on winning, and basically, like you said, if somehow have Pittsburgh lose their game, and have Jacksonville lose their game as well, so yeah, so a lot the Patriots are still playing for, even though they've already clinched the their division. So yeah, so I got New England winning this one. My final score 117, and yeah, for that A team on CBS, this will be Tony Romo's first visit to Gillette Stadium as an announcer for CBS. So he'll get a chance to feel what that's like being in Foxborough. So nothing more to say. Let's just move right along, Florio.
Can we move on to another one of our games of the week? Matter of fact, FPI ranked this next game as the number 2 game of the week. Big one in the NFC South, and I do mean big. The Atlanta Falcons squaring off against the New Orleans Saints at the Mercedes-Benz Superdome in New Orleans. This game will be on Fox, and we've got the B team for Fox working this one. Kevin Burkhardt with Charles Davis and Pam Oliver. And New Orleans is a 6-point favorite, obviously, being in the Superdome. But they met a few weeks ago on a Thursday night game, a very entertaining Thursday game in Atlanta. The Falcons won 20-17 to up their series lead regular season-wise to 51-45. Falcons won in New Orleans last year, 45-32. Saints won the previous year, 2015, 31-21. And I believe, I said this game came in at number 2. So, MF, we started off with you here. Huge stakes. And I do mean huge stakes for both teams. I mean, New Orleans. I mean, that NFC South, man. You got Carolina and New Orleans tied at the top 10 and 4. But you've got Atlanta breathing down their necks at 9 and 5. Something's got to give in this huge South matchup.
And not only that, but if you remember the last time these two teams went at it, it was an idiotic Dinkelberg move by Sean Payton that cost New Orleans the game. An ill-advised, unsportsmanlike conduct that cost them 15 yards that doomed them and dropped that game in Atlanta because the Saints, in all intents and purposes, the Saints was probably going to get one more chance to probably steal that game in the ATL, and then that happened, and it cost them huge. You know what? I'm just going to say it. There's a lot of clinching scenarios here, so bear with me, guys. For the Saints to win the division, a win and a Carolina loss, and it's over. They clinched the South. For New Orleans, just to get a division, just to get a wild card, New Orleans gets in with a win or a tie, or if Seattle ties with Dallas, that gets them in. Atlanta, if they win on that Sunday, if they beat the Saints, Atlanta is in. they go to the playoffs, they get in, or if they tie with New Orleans, then they need Dallas and Seattle to tie, and Detroit has to lose. So, in all attempted purposes, whoever wins this game goes to the playoffs. They are in. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If Atlanta wins, they're in. If New Orleans wins, they're in. So, and they'll at least get a wild card. And then division, just let the chips fall where they may. I got New Orleans to win. I think they're going to do it. They just got too many weapons. That two-headed monster of Ingram and Kamara has been unbelievable. Drew Brees has looked really good. That defense has been not break. And let me tell you, New Orleans should have won that game in Atlanta. They should have beaten the Falcons in that game. The Falcons got very lucky that last time out. They're not going to be lucky this time. They're at the Dome. You know that crowd's going to be jacked up, and they're looking for revenge. So for me, New Orleans wins. They at least get the playoff spot. I don't think they're going to win division this week. I think that's going to come down to week 17. But New Orleans is in. They win. Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely a big showdown in the NFC South, and certainly both teams still trying to fight for that. Still trying to fight for that NFC South, and yeah, and a victory by either one of them will not clinch it outright. So, but it'll give them that one step closer, and yeah, I mean. Yeah, to me, I mean, I think New Orleans should have won that game on that Thursday night. I mean, basically, I mean, they were basically on their way to driving and getting in for that final score, but well, let's just say a big mistake at the end for Drew Brees pretty much cost the team. So yeah, New Orleans is gonna. It's definitely gonna want. It's gonna want a little payback after what happened here, and New Orleans right now is just playing too good right now. So I think New Orleans will get the payback. I got the Saints winning this one as well. My final score is going to be 24-17. So yours.
Those leverage numbers are underselling how important this game is. When we look at division leverage for this game, we see Saints 82%, Falcons 59%. So yeah, this one is critical for both sides. And this might not be the last time we see these two rivals square off this year. Matter of fact, there's a 28% chance we'll see these two again in 2 weeks on Wild Card Weekend. And a 30% shot they'll meet at some point in the playoffs. The only time the Saints and Falcons met in the playoffs was in 1991, and the Falcons won. I believe that was in the Superdome. So the complexion of this game should change from a couple of weeks ago. With Saints running back Alvin Kamara back from a concussion, the Falcons benefited from his early exit during the last meeting, but now they'll have to be leery of both Kamara and backfield mate Mark Ingram. The key for the Falcons was putting up points with an offense that just hasn't established a consistent rhythm. Wide receiver Julio Jones, just named to the Pro Bowl, is recovering from ankle and thumb injuries, which could be a factor as he contends with Saints rookie Pro Bowl cornerback Marshawn Lattimore. This could come down to turnovers, a category in which the Saints are tied for 10th at +4, and the Falcons are tied for 22nd at -4. Both quarterbacks should play better this time around after Matt Ryan threw 3 interceptions and Drew Brees won in the final minutes that cost the Saints the game in a 2017 loss in Atlanta 2 weeks ago. Devontae Freeman has torched the Saints over the past 3 years, 9 yards from scrimmage and 7 touchdowns in their last 6 meetings. Meanwhile, the Falcons didn't have to face Saints rookie Alvin Kamara much in their first meeting after he got knocked out with a concussion on the opening drive. Kamara's 6.6 yards a carry are the most by an NFL running back in the Super Bowl era. and he and Mark Ingram are the first running back duo ever with more than 1,300 yards from scrimmage and 10 touchdowns on the same team. So, needless to say, I agree with you guys. I got the New Orleans Saints winning. I got a little higher scoring. 27-24, New Orleans over Atlanta. Should be a great one. I'm glad we're getting this game in our local Fox affiliate, Fox Providence. I can't wait to see it. I'll be flipping between that and the Buffalo New England game, although I probably won't have much to flip between, but we'll find out. So, with that said, let's move on, guys. Next up, we got the Los Angeles Chargers squaring off against the New York Jets from MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. This game will be on CBS, and it's going to be Iron Eagle with Dan Fouts and Evan Washburn. They'll be on the call, and the Chargers, favorites. Chargers lead the all-time series 21-12 with a tie. I believe it came back in 19. I believe that was a 17 all-time New York. Yes, that is correct. 64. Their last meeting was 2014 in San Diego. Chargers won handily, 31-0. The last meeting in New York was 2012. Chargers also won that 27-17. Jets have not beaten the Chargers at home and overall since 2011, 27-21. So this game did not make our top 5 games of the week. So Michael Bullock, I see he's ready to go. So, all right, Bullock, Chargers and the Jets in the Meadowlands. Jets are out, but the Chargers barely hanging on to playoff hopes.
Yeah, I mean, the LA Chargers, I mean, they have no room for error here. I mean, they basically need to win these final 2 games to have any chance at a shot at the playoffs, and because one loss and they are basically done. So yeah, the Jets have got nothing to play for here, so yeah, so there's really nothing more for me to say. So I got the Chargers winning this one. My final score, I'm going to say 28-13 is going to be my final score. So Florio, it is yours.
All right, just give me a minute. Yeah, I got sidetracked for a minute. Okay, let me see. Okay, last time the Chargers faced a quarterback this inexperienced, they forced Nathan Peterman into 5 interceptions in a blowout win over the Buffalo Bills. And while Bryce Petty has more familiarity in the offense for the Jets, he's still winning 4 as a starter with 4 TDs and 9 picks. And facing a talented Charger pass rush led by Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram, the Jets are much breathing on the road, winning 6. And only the 6th time in his career. Could be in for a long day against the Chargers bookend pass rushers Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram, 21.5 combined sacks. The Jets can keep Phillip Rivers and company under 27 points, but they don't have enough firepower to win a game in the mid-20s. The Chargers are ranked 3rd in scoring defense, and this is key. They have a motivational edge because they're fighting for a playoff spot. So, here's to win this one as well. My final score, 24-17, Chargers over the Jets. So in that we know the Jets are out, but the Chargers, after that tough loss in Kansas City last Saturday night, if they want to get in, they need to win out and get a lot of help, I'm sure.
Well, as far as the Chargers go, yeah, they're going to need some help here. I mean, right now they're actually at the number 8 spot. So for them to win out, like for the Chargers to get in, they're going to need to win out, and they're going to need they're going to need Buffalo to fall, and they're going to need Baltimore to lose some way, somehow, and get tripped up along the way. Maybe get Tennessee just to be on the safe side. But they also could still win the division as well. But they're going to need Kansas City to trip up somewhere along the way, and they're going to have to win out. But a loss here, and not only is it goodbye to them, is it not only goodbye to them wild card wise, it's also goodbye for them to any hopes to win the division, because Kansas City will automatically win the division with a Charger loss. So obviously, you cannot afford a loss here or you're gone on both fronts. Write them on the death note. Their playoff chances will be deleted at that point. So definitely the Chargers have to win. Can they get it? We'll wait and see. This is a tough game. Coming from west to east, never easy at all. Even though the Jets are, they're playing the Jets, right, Anthony? The Chargers?
Yes, they're playing the Jets.
Okay. Yeah, so never an easy game. Plus, the Jets have been spoilers. They've beaten a few teams in the Meadowlands this year. So it's not like this is a gimme. The Chargers need this game. They have to win this game. I think it's going to be closer than what the experts have it. But I'm going to go with the Chargers to win. But it's going to be closer. So Chargers win. But I don't think that's going to be enough, because I think with Baltimore there, with Buffalo, and with Tennessee, Chargers, I'm sorry, guys, but I think I'm going to be writing you on the death note. I think your chances are going to be deleted. So, Michael Bullock, I give it to you.
Bullock already took it.
Yeah, my bad. I'm sorry. Anthony, next game.
We have 2 early games left. But this next one, another one of our games of the week. This game came in as our number 4 game of the week. Great one here. We got the Los Angeles Rams squaring off against the Tennessee Titans at Nissan Stadium in Nashville. This game will be on Fox, and it'll be Chris Myers with Daryl Moose Johnston and Laura Oakman. The Rams, 7-point favorites in this one. Rams lead the all-time series 6-5. Their last meeting was 2013 in St. Louis in the Dome. Tennessee won 28-21. Last meeting in Nashville, all Tennessee back in 2009, a 47-7 beatdown. Rams have not beaten this franchise on the road since 1993, ironically, when they were the Los Angeles Rams, when they beat the then Houston Oilers 28-13 at the Astrodome. That's the last time the Rams won at this franchise. So, been a long time, but the last time they beat the Rams, they beat the Titans overall, was 2005 in St. Louis, 31-27. And of course, we'll never forget Super Bowl 34. The then St. Louis Rams and the Tennessee Titans, one of the greatest Super Bowls of all time, and one of Michael Fletcher's greatest calls, as we recall. So, this game, like I said, came in as our number 4 game of the week. The Rams are the Titans' 3rd consecutive NFC West opponent, with Tennessee having lost on the road to the Cardinals and 49ers the last 2 weeks, respectively. The Rams, conversely, took a huge step toward wrapping up the division with a convincing 42-7 win over Seattle that resulted in FPI projecting them to make the playoffs nearly 99% of the time, needing just 1 win in their final 2 matchups to earn the NFC West division title. Tennessee's playoff fortunes will take a big hit with a loss. A win would get them up to 79% likely to make the postseason per FPI's projections, while a loss drops them back to 52%. And with the Jaguars looming next week, FPI gives the Titans a 35% chance to lose out. Should that happen, they wouldn't necessarily be eliminated, but they would make the playoffs in only 23% of FPI's simulations at 8-8. The Titans are desperate, but the Rams are riding high, coming off a 42-7 rout of the Seahawks in Seattle. Another win clinches the division title for the Rams, and keeps them as the number 3 seed in the NFC. The Rams suffered a tough blow earlier this week with Greg Zuerlein, the most productive kicker in the NFL this season, going on IR with a herniated disc in his back. But the Rams are clicking on offense and defense, and the Titans are reeling. Tennessee is dangerously close to a playoff collapse after looking like a near lock 2 weeks ago. The Red Hot Rams will challenge the Titan defense with their use of play action once Todd Gurley gets rolling. Stopping Gurley will be priority number 1 for the Titans' third-ranked rushing defense, but the passing attack is likely where the Rams will have success. What with Tennessee having cornerback injuries, the Titans haven't shown an ability to put up enough points to compete with a team like the Rams. So, really nothing for me to say here. I'm going with the Los Angeles Rams to win. It's a shame, really, because, I had such high hopes for Tennessee this year. And with 2 easy games back-to-back, Arizona and San Francisco, games they honestly should have won. I cannot believe for the life of me they lost both of those games and looked so god-awful in both of them. What makes you think that, even though they're at home, what makes you think they're going to beat the Rams, especially after what they did in Seattle last week? Come on, give me a break. It's the Rams. 30-17, Los Angeles, all over Tennessee, and the Rams' magical season will continue, even though their franchise kicker, because he is a very good kicker. Zuerlein, he's amazing. So 30-17, Los Angeles over Tennessee. Nothing more to say, MF. Tennessee is pretty much free falling, while the Rams are on the verge of winning the NFC West Division title. And who would have thought that, especially after how god-awful they were a year ago?
And you know what? I got to say it. You got to give it to Sean McVay. Sean McVay is the reason why the Rams are where they're at right now. A year or so ago, they had Jeff Fisher as the head coach, and he was abysmal. And they fired him. They got rid of him. They brought this young upstart head coach, Sean McVay, the youngest head coach in the NFL, and look at the turnaround it is. There's life in Los Angeles. They are unbelievable this season. They've had a great run, and now they just got to do what they have to do. Just finish the job. And not only that, but there's actually a couple of ways that this can be done. If they win the division. If Seattle should lose on Sunday, they win the division. And if for some reason they do get tripped up, okay, that's fine. It's not the end of the world, because they could actually still get into the playoffs. They can clinch a wild card spot with a Detroit loss, a Carolina loss, and an Atlanta loss. If all three loses in that order, then the Rams make the playoffs. So obviously you want to win the division. You want to get that out of the way. And Tennessee, they are actually looking pretty high, because here's the thing, Anthony. If they win, and coupled with a Baltimore loss and a Buffalo loss on Sunday, then Tennessee clinches. They are in. So this is a huge high leverage game, a big game to say the very least, because whoever wins this game, they actually might be looking at a possible playoff spot. If the Rams win it, not only do they get the playoff spot, but they are the NFC Western Division champions. We'll wait and see what happens. This is going to be a good game. But like you said, Tennessee's been free-falling lately. I think they're going to hit the skids again. I think the Rams are going to get the job done. And more importantly, they're going to be celebrating in La La Land, because I believe the Los Angeles Rams will clinch the NFC Western Division title. And I think this will be their first time that they've won the title since that Greatest Show on Turf did it a few years ago, way back when they were making runs for the Super Bowls in those years. So I think the Rams will win it. They'll win the division. Nothing more to say. Michael Bullock, I give it to you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like you said, this is basically like a big game for both sides, for both the Rams and the Titans. And like you said, I mean, all the Rams have to do is win, and basically you are the NFC West champions. I mean, it was a year ago. It was a year around this time last year. The Rams got rid of Jeff Fisher, and and Jared Goff was on his way to basically sort of spot next to Ryan Leaf in the Busts Hall of Fame, and many people thought Todd Gurley looked like a big one hit wonder than player, and now here we are a year later, and Sean McVay. I think he's going to get the coach of the year with what he's done for this team, and Jared Goff has really turned into one of the best young quarterbacks in the game. And some thoughts of Todd Gurley basically maybe in the MVP conversation. I mean, everything has changed in a year, but in Tennessee, I mean, they're still fighting for a playoff spot as well, and also the AFC South. They basically trailed Jacksonville by 2 games in the South, and so for their Week 17 showdown next week, all they have to do is win and hope that the San Francisco 49ers can beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. So yeah, I mean, this should make for an interesting game, but I got the LA Rams winning and becoming the NFC West champions. So nothing more to say. So Florio, it's yours.
And we move on to our final 1:00 game of the Christmas Eve slate. And it's another one of the Zonk games of the week. No playoff implications in this one whatsoever. The Denver Broncos squaring off against the Washington Redskins at FedEx Field in Landover, Maryland. This will be on CBS. Spiro Ditas and Anna Marcelletta will have the call. And it is the Redskins. Yes, Washington, 3 to 3.5 point favorites. Denver leads the all-time series 7-5. Their last meeting was 2013. Broncos won that in Denver handily, 45-21. Last meeting in Washington was 2009. Redskins won that 27-17. Denver has not won in Washington since back in 1998, 38-16. That was the year of their second straight Super Bowl with John Elway in his final year. And they met in the Super Bowl, as you all know, Super Bowl 22. Redskins won 42-10 at the then Jack Murphy Stadium in San Diego, the Doug Williams and Timmy Smith show, as everybody remembers, in Super Bowl 22. So Denver leads it 7-5 all time. So MF, we started with you. Obviously, no implications because both of these teams I know should be out. So, but just a quick thought: Denver and Washington, nothing at stake here, obviously.
Nothing at stake. I'm not going to waste any time. I got the Washington Redskins beating the Denver Broncos, 20-17. Michael Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, I'm not going to waste any time with this one either. I got the Redskins winning this one. I mean, both teams with nothing to play for, so Florio, it's yours.
You know, for some, it's difficult to make a call on this one until the Broncos make a call at quarterback. As of yesterday, they have not decided if either Brock Osweiler or Paxton Lynch will start. If it were to be Osweiler, their chances to win improve greatly. However, Lynch has practiced just 3 times all this week since he suffered an ankle injury on November 26th against the Raiders. The Broncos defense should get to Redskins quarterback Kirk Cousins, who has been sacked 38 times this year, fourth most in the league. But this pick is based on the Broncos trying as hard as they can to jam Lynch into the lineup before the end of the year. The Redskins offense continues to struggle, and the toll of not having tight end Jordan Reed, running back Chris Thompson, and left tackle Trent Williams adds up. Those three among the team's most indispensable players will have missed a combined 22 games by the year's end. In a lot of games, the Redskins could survive their absence, but Denver owns the top-ranked defense in yards allowed and is second in yards per rush and passing yards. Meanwhile, the Redskins' rushing attack has averaged 2.53 yards a carry over the last 3 games. And also, if Denver runs the ball remotely close to the way it did last week, 211 yards, 4.59 yards a carry, it could have enough success no matter who's at quarterback. But at the end, though, I agree with you guys. I'm going with the Washington Redskins as well. 23-17, that's my final. So nothing more to say here. Let's just move on to our next game as we start the late games now. 4:05 game on CBS. Back to implication games for a moment. The Jacksonville Jaguars squaring off against the San Francisco 49ers at Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, California. Andrew Catalan, James Lofton, they will have the call for CBS. And I believe Jacksonville is the favorite. I will have to get back to you on that. Just give that a minute to load up. So, all right, Jacksonville. I do believe Jacksonville leads the all-time series. Let me just double check. Well, actually, no, the series is tied 2-2. They last met in 2013 in London, England, and the 49ers won handily 42-10. Their only other meeting, they've only met once in San Francisco. That was in 2009. And the 49ers also won that 20-3. So Jacksonville won the other meetings, but those were both in Jacksonville. So, okay, here we go. Jacksonville. Jacksonville is the favorite, 3.5 to 4.5. So Michael Bullock, we started with you. Of course, the 49ers are out, but they've been playing very well since your old friend Jimmy Garoppolo took over the quarterback position. But Jacksonville, though, they're playing for the AFC South, and a win here, I think, pretty much puts that to bed. No.
Yeah, both teams have been playing well. I mean, yeah, and the Jaguars basically. I mean, what can you say about them? I mean, last week, I mean, basically clinched their first playoff berth since 2007 and currently hold a 2-game lead over Tennessee in the AFC South race. And if the Titans end up losing to the Rams on Sunday, the Jaguars would already clinch the division title, and even before their kickoff. So, but for the 49ers, I mean, they after an 0-9 start, they're 4-1. But Jimmy Garoppolo has won all 3 of his starts and done. I mean, he's completing 68.7% of his passes for over 1,000 yards with 3 touchdowns, and he's got a quarterback rating of 98.0. So, yeah. So, I mean, this is a tough one here, but in the end, Jacksonville, I mean, they're too good, not just offensively, especially with the way Blake Bortles has been playing. I mean, goodness gracious with that, and with their defense, I gotta go with the Jacksonville Jaguars to win this one. My final score, I'm gonna say 31 to 20 is gonna be my final score. So nothing more to say. Florio, it is yours.
Yeah. Yeah. What a turnaround for Jacksonville. I mean, you can make an argument for Doug Marrone in that Coach of the Year race as well. I mean, who in their right mind thought that Jacksonville was going to be this good? I mean, you remember a year ago, MF and Bullock had high hopes for Jacksonville. I wasn't convinced, and I was right. Sadly, I was right. I didn't want to be right, but I was right. But nonetheless, that's how it happened, and Jacksonville had another one of their, what we like to call, vintage seasons, where they were just an absolute mess and just a dud of a team. And so, you know, these things happen, and it is what it is. But now they can right all of these wrongs with a simple win against the San Francisco 49ers at Levi's Stadium. A few weeks ago, I would have considered this an easy win, but not so fast, my friends. Or as J.A. Dundee would always like to say, easy there, Romeo. I mean, look what the Niners have been doing. Like Bullock said, they started 0-9, and they've won 4 out of 5. And I believe 3 in a row, which has really, and they're coming on very strong, and who knows, maybe they could be a big surprise team next year, and especially with Jimmy G at the helm, they could be a team of the future. And who knows, maybe there could be hope in San Francisco again. Not since that other quarterback was there way back when. But okay. Let's see here. Very slow. I do apologize. Jimmy Garoppolo has never lost to start 5-0, but he's never played against a defense such as the Jaguars' 2017 unit. It is on pace to become the first defense since the merger in 1970 to lead the NFL in points allowed, takeaways, and sacks. Those are cornerbacks Jalen Ramsey and A.J. Boyd, who have combined for 10 interceptions and 34 pass breakups. Defense with a great pass rush in a matchup against a young, inexperienced quarterback. At some point, the Jimmy Garoppolo bus has to hit a speed bump, right? This week seems as likely as any, considering the Niners have to deal with the Jaguars' ferocious defense. Jacksonville ranks near the top of the league in most major categories, and it won't blitz Garoppolo as much as the Titans last week, leaning on its front four to create pressure. On paper, the Jags are clear favorites, but it's also worth noting their major struggles when traveling to the West Coast. Jacksonville has lost eight consecutive games in the Pacific time zone by an average of 21 points a game. Its last win out west was in 2004. Still, those teams aren't this one. The Jaguars should have enough to get it done with playoff seeding still at stake. So I'm going with the Jacksonville Jaguars to win. 27-10, Jacksonville wins. Nothing more to say on this. MF, we know the Niners are out. They've been long out. But Jacksonville playing for the AFC South and also playing for first round bye and possible home field.
Yeah, they're actually they're right there. But they're gonna need some help to win. Well, let's get the logistics out. Jacksonville can win the division by either a win or Tennessee loss. Either or. Does not matter how it's done. If Jacksonville wins their game, they win the division. If Tennessee loses, Jacksonville wins the division. Now, for the first round bye and for the home field throughout, I was really starting to look for scenarios. Here's the thing that they need to do. They need both Pittsburgh. Well, they need Pittsburgh to lose one, but they need New England to lose both their games on out. They would have to lose to Buffalo, and they would have to lose to the Jets in week 16 and week 17, because Pittsburgh and Jacksonville already faced off earlier in the year, and Jacksonville won that game, so they got head-to-head. It comes to the point where New England goes, they would need New England to lose both their games because that would be a better conference record than the Patriots. And in that case, the Jacksonville Jaguars not only get the first round bye, they also get the home field throughout the AFC playoffs. So there's still some work to be done. But for Jacksonville, there's only one thing you need to worry about. Win on Sunday, clinch the division, then hope and pray New England and the Steelers both lose. Because at that instance, now you got a scenario where you could win it all. So one thing at a time, win the division, which I think they will. They'll beat the 49ers. Then let the chips fall where they may in week 17. Hope and pray that New England and Pittsburgh both lose. Because at that instant, then you have an opportunity to do the unthinkable. And who knows, all roads could lead through Jacksonville. And what a story that would be for everybody involved. Nothing more to say. Michael Bullock, it's yours.
What game are we on?
We're on Jacksonville and San Francisco.
Oh, I already talked about it.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry about that. Oh, we lost Florio. That's why. All right. Anthony, are you back? Tony? Looks like he's having issues. All right.
I'm here.
I guess. Okay.
Yep. Wonky. All there is to say on that. So, all right, let's get back into the fold here. We have a couple of we got two 425 games here on Christmas Eve, and then a couple of Christmas games. So we have another non-playoff implication game. I believe this should be our last game that has no implications whatsoever. A renewal of a once famous division rivalry. Two former NFC East foes squaring off here. The New York Giants and the Arizona Cardinals at University of Phoenix Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. On Fox, the legendary Dick Stockton with Mark Schlereth and Shannon Spake will have the call. And Arizona, favored by 3 to 3.5. The Giants lead the all-time series 80 to 43 with two ties. 1964, 10 all-tie in St. Louis, and in 1983, 20 all-tie also in St. Louis. Their last meeting was in 2014, and the Cardinals put a whooping on the Giants in New York, 25-14. Last meeting in Arizona was 2011. Giants won that 31-27. Very exciting game. Cardinals have not beaten the Giants at home since 2004, 17-14. I believe that was at the old Sun Devil Stadium in Tempe. So I'll make this pretty short and sweet here. The Cardinals allow 313 yards a game. The Giants' offense averages 311 yards a game. Split the difference and give the Giants 312 yards on Sunday afternoon in Arizona. It's hard to win that way. With the Cardinals starting Drew Stanton at quarterback, the run game might end up being the difference if Bruce Arians expects to tie Ken Wisenhunt for most wins in franchise history. Cardinals are averaging 125.75 yards rushing in their last four, while the Giants are giving up 128.5 on the year. Arizona's run defense is ranked 6th in the NFL, while the Giants' rushing offense, which averages 89 yards a game, is ranked 28th. Nothing more to say. Arizona wins 20-10. Nothing more to say. MF. Giants in Arizona, obviously no implications for either team.
Yeah, and I'm going with the Arizona Cardinals as well. Really nothing more to say. Mike Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, I got the Arizona Cardinals winning this one as well. So there's really nothing more to say. Let's just move right along, Florio.
And it's America's Game of the Week on Fox. The Seattle Seahawks squaring off against the Dallas Cowboys. AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Game of the Week, America's Game of the Week. You know, who's working it? Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, Aaron Andrews. They'll be in Dallas. We'll have this game on our Fox affiliate, Fox Providence, of course. Dallas comes into it as 4.5 to 5-point favorites, which you can certainly understand given Seattle's banged up defense and the fact that Dallas will be getting Ezekiel Elliott back from his suspension. Dallas leads the all-time series 10-6. Their last meeting was in 2015. Seattle won 13-12 in Dallas. Dallas hasn't beaten the Seahawks at home since 2011, 23-13. So, and this game came in as our number 3 game of the week. So, I think I've pretty much covered all the schematics here. So, MF, number 3 game of the week, Seattle, Dallas. Major implications for both of these teams, especially for Dallas after that thrilling win in Oakland last Sunday night, and the fact that they're getting Ezekiel Elliott back at long last from that never-ending suspension.
Yeah, I think one of my boys I listened to on YouTube, he said it. It's time. Throw the X up. Dak attack. Zeke is back. We them boys. Dallas is thinking this is their time. This is their moment. Back in Texas Stadium, in that $1 billion palace, Jerry's World. Here we go again. The Cowboys. And the thing is, if the Cowboys win out, they're in. They get into the playoff. But they gotta win out, and they're gonna need Seattle, because if they beat Seattle, whoever loses this game is out. And that's basically straight up, no doubt. Whoever loses this game is basically, they're eliminated. They're gone. They go home. Then you got to deal with Detroit. You got to see what they have to do. Detroit, like I said, I believe, is there a clinching scenario for Detroit? No, there's not. Okay, so Detroit can't get in on this realm. So, man alive. I mean, you would need a lot of things to go their way. Basically, if Atlanta wins, then that's really bad. I mean, that's horrible. If Atlanta wins, they go through, and then you got to hope and pray for a miracle. You would need literally a miracle for this to happen. So, whatever the case may be, you can only handle it one game at a time. I got to go with the Cowboys, man. I just think that Ezekiel Elliott return, he's going to be fired up. He's going to be motivated. He's going to look better than ever. Give me the boys to win, man. I think Dallas wins and they move on. So, yeah, Michael Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, I mean, the Dallas Cowboys, they finally get Ezekiel Elliott back after serving his suspension. That's going to be a huge boost to the Cowboys, especially when it comes to their final 2 games. And boy, I mean, what is going on with the Seahawks? I mean, they just haven't looked like themselves as of late. So basically, I mean, there's really nothing more to say. I mean, I got the Dallas Cowboys winning this one. So nothing more for me to say except Florio, it's yours.
Overall, the Cowboys do not have a good defense. In fact, they rank dead last in defensive efficiency this year. But one thing they do well, rush the passer. The Cowboys put opposing quarterbacks under arrest 30% of the time this year, 6th best in the league. But if we take out blitzes across the board, they rank 2nd at 28.3%. Seattle, as you may have heard, has a protection problem. The Seahawks have allowed pressure on 35.7% of dropbacks, 3rd most in the league, and 32.4% of non-blitz dropbacks, 2nd most in the league. Expect Russell Wilson to be on the run again. The Seahawks run defense is trending in a bad direction heading into Sunday's meeting with the Cowboys and Ezekiel Elliott. who will be back from a 6-game suspension. What galled Coach Pete Carroll the most about the Seahawks' demoralizing 42-7 loss to the Rams was how they were gashed by Todd Gurley and company to the tune of 244 yards rushing, the most against Seattle since 2010. It also marked the second consecutive week in which a running back has topped 100 yards against Seattle. Having linebacker KJ Wright back from a concussion will help, and the Seahawks figure to put up a good fight, given that they need to win out to maintain any shot at the playoffs. But their defense is still missing several key players whose absences appear to have finally caught up to the Seahawks. At the start of the season, this would have been considered one of the Cowboys' most difficult games because of Seattle's historically strong defense. Without Richard Sherman, Cam Chancellor, and Cliff Vrabel over their past 5 outings, however, the Seahawks have given up almost 26 points a game and 134 yards on the ground. The Cowboys welcome back Ezekiel Elliott from a 6-game suspension. He needs 87 yards to put up the most rushing yards in the first 2 seasons by a Cowboys runner. Emmitt Smith had 2,500 and 91-92 on his way to becoming the NFL's all-time leading rusher. Elliott will run the ball well, and his return will open the play-action game down the middle of the field for tight end Jason Witten. So I'm going with the Dallas Cowboys to win this one as well. Should be a good one. 27-20, Dallas over Seattle. So that closes out the Christmas Eve slate. And now we move on. 2 games left, and they're both on Monday. Doubleheader on Christmas Day. Merry Christmas. We got a couple of presents for you. And we started off with a game that'll be on at 4:30 on NBC on Christmas Day. The Pittsburgh Steelers squaring off against the Houston Texans at NRG Stadium in Houston. NBC will have the game. Mike Tirico with Kurt Warner. I should say the Hall of Famer Kurt Warner. And Heather Cox on the sidelines. Pittsburgh, double-digit favorites, 9 to 10-point favorites in favor of the Steelers. Pittsburgh leads the all-time series 3-2. Their last meeting was 2014 in Pittsburgh. Steelers won 30-23. Last meeting in Houston, 2011. Texans won 17-10. Pittsburgh has only won in Houston once. That was back in 2005, an easy 27-7 win. This game did not make our top 5, obviously. So, I believe Michael Bullock starts this one off. So, Michael Bullock, Pittsburgh, Houston, first half of our Christmas doubleheader. Houston's obviously out. Pittsburgh's won the North, but they're right there in the thick of that first round bye and home field race.
Yeah, and I think the big question here is how is Pittsburgh gonna bounce that devastating loss to the New England Patriots in a 5-star classic game like we just talked about, and of course the big story, of course, they're going to be without wide receiver and Antonio Brown for the rest of the regular season, but you still got Big Ben, you still got Le'Veon Bell, and yeah, so I think and of course you also got Martavis Bryant, Juju Smith-Schuster, and of course Jesse James, and so I think Pittsburgh's going to be just fine here. So I think Pittsburgh will have no problem here. I think they'll win this one going away against Houston. So nothing more to say. Florio, it is yours.
Even without Antonio Brown, the Steelers' high-powered offense will have success against the Texans, who won the game with the NFL's worst scoring defense. Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers are averaging 281 passing yards a game. His success will continue on Christmas Day, and the Texans will lose their 5th consecutive game for the first time since losing their final 14 games in 2013 after a 2-0 start. The last time Ben Roethlisberger lost to New England in the regular season 2 years ago, he threw for 369 yards and 3 touchdowns the next week. Houston looks like a team deflated with a one-stout defense, allowing nearly 5,000 yards on the season. TJ Yates is starting at quarterback for the Texans. The Steelers are 10-1 in their last 11 games against backup quarterbacks, with the only loss coming at the hands of the Cowboys, Dak Prescott, last year. Nothing more to say. Pittsburgh wins 31-17. That's my final score. So, and we already know Houston's out. But Pittsburgh, like I said, in the midst of that race for the first round bye in home field.
Yeah, and well, here's the thing. Pittsburgh can get the first round bye with a win and a Jaguars loss. So it's pretty simple. You get the first round bye, you do that. You still have a legitimate shot at home field throughout, but now you need to win your final 2 games and you need New England to lose the final 2 games, because now New England has the head-to-head with that win last week. So basically, you need to win 2, New England has to drop 2, or in order for that to happen, that's how you can get the first round bye and home field throughout the AFC playoffs. Nothing more to say. Anthony, it's yours.
And you got Pittsburgh, right, Matt?
Yeah, I got Pittsburgh. That's simple enough.
All right. Final game of the week. We climaxing on Christmas night with the final Monday Night Football game of the season finale, if you will, of Monday Night Football on ESPN. Oakland Raiders squaring off against the Philadelphia Eagles at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia. Sean McDonough, John Gruden, Lisa Salters on the call. Eagles 9 to 10 point favorites. Philadelphia leads the all-time series 6-5. Their last meeting was 2013 in Oakland. Eagles put a whooping on the Raiders 49 to 20. Last meeting in Philadelphia was 2005. Philly won that as well, 23-20. Raiders last beat the Eagles in Philadelphia in 2001, 20 to 10 at the old Veterans Stadium. This game came in as our number 5 game of the week. So here we go. All eyes in Philadelphia will once again be on Nick Foles, who makes his second start in place of the injured Carson Wentz. Foles played well enough to beat the Giants last week, along with some major assistance from an Eagles special teams unit that blocked an extra point, a punt, and a field goal. Foles' 59.5 total QBR was the highest in a start since a 79.4 in Week 4 of 2015 as a member of the Rams. That 59.5, however, would place it as Wentz's 4th worst game of the year. So he wasn't exactly a 1-to-1 replacement. The Raiders aren't officially eliminated, but need a lot of help to find a way in at 8-8. If there was a 4-way tie at 8-8 among the Raiders, Titans, Dolphins, and Bills, the Raiders would come out on top of that heap by virtue of a head-to-head sweep of Miami and Tennessee, with Miami having won an initial tiebreaker over Buffalo. It's not likely, but it did happen in 0.1% of FPI simulations. The Raiders could be officially eliminated from the playoff race before kickoff, and the Eagles could be playing for home field advantage in the NFC. Yeah, this has the chance to get out of hand, especially if the Eagles jump the Raiders quickly. Still, pride is at stake on national television, and the last time the Raiders faced Nick Foles, he lit them up for 7 touchdown passes in 2013. Oakland needs to start fast on offense, which has regressed from the number 6 unit in the league last season to number 19. Lest the game get out of hand even quicker. The last time Nick Foles faced Oakland in November 2013, he threw 7 touchdowns en route to a 49-20 Eagles win and a Pro Bowl berth. While he's unlikely to recreate that performance, Foles should find success against the NFL's 23rd ranked pass defense. The Eagles' defense has been leaky of late and needs a strong showing to calm some nerves heading into the postseason. Back at home after a 3-game road swing, defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz's unit should get back on track. So I'm going with the Philadelphia Eagles to win this one. I think it'll be high scoring, but I think Philly will ultimately pull away. 37-24, Philadelphia over Oakland. Nothing more to say. MF, Raiders playoff hopes are on life support, while the Eagles looking to fly into that home field advantage in the NFC.
And not only that, but they can do it a win on Monday. They get the home field throughout the playoffs. Or more importantly, if Minnesota loses on Sunday, or actually, yeah, if Minnesota loses on Saturday, actually, if they lose to Green Bay, then Philadelphia will actually clinch and get the home field advantage throughout the playoffs. So there's two scenarios here that, Philly could find out that they might be playing for the division, might be playing for home field, or they would probably already have home field already locked up, depending on what Minnesota does against Green Bay. So number of ways that this can go, but I'm pretty much certain that Philly's gonna have to earn their way to it. They'll get it done. I think Philly wins it. Sorry guys, I'm gonna have to head on out due to work commitments. So see you guys next week. So long. Bye. Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, I'm gonna go with. Oh, I just lost it there for a minute. Give me a chance. Yeah, I gotta go with the Philadelphia Eagles as well. The Raiders, they are on life support when it comes to the playoffs, but Eagles are just too good. Yeah, you got Nick Foles in there, but still, they're a really good team. So, Eagles win. Nothing more to say. Let's move right along to the power rankings.
Yep. Take a breather, Bullet. I got it. So, I did the power rankings late last night, and I think looking at the final product, I believe these power rankings are correct as they should be. So, nothing more to say. Let's start it off. We're going to start it off at number 10 with a tie. I got the Buffalo Bills and the Baltimore Ravens coming in at code number 10s. Ravens took care of business, beating the Browns 27-10 in Cleveland. Exactly what you need to do against a dismal team. Buffalo, winners of 2 in a row. They barely got by Indianapolis in that snowstorm. And then, of course, a nice win over Fletcher's Dolphins that pretty much knocked Miami out of the mix. So, Ravens have a very favorable schedule with Indianapolis coming up this week, and then Cincinnati next week. Defense recorded 2 sacks and 2 picks with Deshaun Kaiser. Joe Flacco, 288 yards and a TD. Benjamin Watson with a receiving touchdown, and the field goal kicking was good, and Eric Weddle and Brandon Carr with the picks, and Za'Darius Smith and Matt Judon with the sacks, and a vintage Ravens performance there. So give Baltimore the first number 10, and my other number 10 is Buffalo. Those 2 straight wins, barely getting by Indianapolis, but a more impressive win over Miami. Very tough game against the Patriots, and then they got to go to Miami against the Dolphins. Give credit to Buffalo, man. They finished 6-2 at home. I'm very proud of Buffalo. They went 6-2 at home, with the only 2 losses coming to the Saints and the Patriots. Not a bad way to go. Defense recorded 3 sacks and 3 interceptions of Jay Cutler. Very good. Bringing him back down to earth after that monumental win over the Patriots on a Monday night a couple weeks ago. Taylor, solid game. He had a rushing touchdown, as did Shady McCoy. And Shady also had a receiving touchdown as well in the win. But this one was more about the defense than anything else. 3 sacks and 3 picks. Sharice Wright with a 54-yard interception return. Very nice. Jordan Poyer and Tre'Davious White with the picks. Cappy had a sack. Ryan Davis, and I don't know who had the other one, but pretty much covered all of it. So Nothing more to say there. Co-number 10s, Buffalo Bills and the Baltimore Ravens. So, Michael Bullock, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I'm with you on that. The Bills and the Ravens, they're my co-number 10s as well. So let's move right along with our power rankings with number 9.
And it's the Atlanta Falcons. Dropping them one spot from 8 to 9. Yeah, they won 2 in a row and they're 9-5, but they needed a missed field goal at the end to defeat Tampa Bay. I mean, they should have had an easier time with the Bucs, if I'm going to be real honest with you, because Tampa Bay's a mess now. Oh boy, are they a mess. 24-21, Atlanta beat Tampa. I mean, they could have played better. I mean, they nearly let it get away. I mean, they had a 17-7 lead at the half, and Tampa came back, but nearly blew it. But Atlanta held on. 2 sacks at Jameis Winston. Touchdown pass from Matt Ryan. Devontae Freeman, 126 yards rushing and a score. Big win for them. Justin Hardy with a receiving touchdown. And Adrian Claiborne, half a sack. Grady Jarrett, half a sack. And Takkarist McKinley with the other. Big game for the Falcons this weekend as they go up against the Saints in New Orleans. Huge implications in that one. So, nothing more to say there. Atlanta Falcons, number 9. Bullock, what do you say?
Atlanta Falcons, number 9. So, there's really nothing more to say. Let's just move right along to number 8.
And it's the team that Atlanta will be meeting on Sunday, the New Orleans Saints. They come in as my number 8. Got back on track. Beat up on the Jets. But then again, they had a bit of a tough time with the Jets before ultimately pulling away. They won 31-19. Jets hung with them. They let the Jets hang with them, but they ultimately got the win. Defense with two picks and a sack. Bryce Petty, Drew Brees, 281 yards, 2 TDs. Mark Ingram, 2 rushing touchdowns, 74 yards. Solid effort out of him. Michael Thomas, 93 yards and a touchdown in the win. Kamara with a receiving touchdown in the win. And Marshawn Lattimore with an interception in the game, as well as Craig Robertson and George Johnson had the sacks. So I really wanted to see them do a little more to the Jets, but they never should have let the Jets hang around for as long as they did before they pulled away. But they got the win. The body of work's good enough. So New Orleans Saints, number 8, Michael Bullock. Is that good for you?
Yeah, that's good for me, Florio. So yeah, I agree with you there. So let's just move right along.
Number 7, Dallas Cowboys. Winners of 3 in a row, 8-6. They had 2 impressive blowout wins over the Redskins and the Giants. And they beat a quality team in the Oakland Raiders, 20-17. Very exciting game on Sunday night. Let's see. Defense did nothing, but Dak Prescott, solid game. But it was Dak Prescott with a rushing touch, or the running game pretty much covered it. Dak Prescott and Rod Smith with the touchdowns. And I think field goals also played a role in the win as well. Dan Bailey, solid outing. And yeah, so a big win for Dallas, keeping their playoff hopes alive. They had a big one against Seattle on Christmas Eve. So nothing more to say. Dallas Cowboys, number 7. So, Bullock, is that good for you?
Yep, I agree. Oakland Raiders, they're my number 7 as well. So let's move right along to number 6.
Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City Chiefs at number 6. Winners of 2 in a row, 8-6. Control their own destiny in the West. All they have to do is beat the Dolphins, and they got it. Last Saturday night on a primetime stage, they absolutely put a whooping on the Chargers. It was a close game early, but in the second half, it was all Kansas City. Defense with 3 interceptions and 2 sacks of Phillip Rivers. Alex Smith, 2 touchdown passes. Kareem Hunt, 155 yards and a touchdown in the win, rushing. Tyreek Hill and Kareem Hunt were receiving touchdowns. Hill went over 88 yards. And Chris Jones, Eric Murray with the sacks. Ron Parker had an interception. And Marcus Peters, 2 interceptions for 74 yards. Way to redeem himself after that Noggin Diva moment he had in the Meadowlands a couple weeks ago. So, Chiefs with the Dolphins and the Broncos left. I think they'll get in at 10-6, win the division. So, Kansas City Chiefs, number 6. Michael Ball gets yours. Bullock, number 5, number 6. I have Kansas City.
Just basically. Oh yeah. Sorry about that. I got Kansas City as my number 6 too. So yeah. Let's move right on to the top 5.
Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota Vikings coming in at number 5, winning the NFC North. It took a win over the Bungles to do it. I mean, they absolutely pounded the Bungles, 34-7. 11-3. They got Green Bay and Chicago left on their schedule. Defense, 3 sacks and 2 picks of Andy Dalton. Case Keenum, a couple of touchdown passes, 236 yards. Latavius Murray, 76 yards and a touchdown rushing. Jerick McKinnon, where did you come from, dude? 114 yards receiving. Stephon Diggs with a touchdown, as well as Kyle Rudolph. 2 sacks for Brian Robeson. Eric Kendricks with an interception for 31 yards. Terrence Newman, an interception for 3 yards. And Danielle Hunter had the sack as well. Congratulations, Minnesota Vikings. You win the NFC North. Easy win over the Bungles. I would have put you higher, but except you beat the Bungles. That's all there is to say. So, Minnesota Vikings, number 5, Michael Bullock. Is that good for you?
Oh yeah, that's good for me. The Minnesota Vikings are number 5, and of course, you know what we always got to do whenever the Vikings win. Woo!
Flugelhorn.
The Buglehorn.
Yeah, buddy. Yep, Minnesota number 5. Now let's go to the 4. My number 4, Carolina Panthers. They've won 2 in a row, 10-4. Still in the thick of the race. They're tied with New Orleans for the South. Nice win over the Green Bay Packers in a very exciting game, 31-24 at Bank of America Stadium, spoiling the return of Aaron Rodgers. Defense got to him, though. Defense with three sacks and 3 picks of Aaron Rodgers. Very nice. Cam Newton, 4 touchdown passes. Also impressive. Running game to next to nothing. Greg Olsen, 116 yards and a touchdown. Christian McCaffrey, 73 yards and a touchdown. Damiere Byrd, 2 receiving touchdowns. Then Wes Horton with a sack and half a sack for Starlo Lully, Mario Addison, Thomas Davis, and Julius Peppers. Colin Jones with an interception for 10 yards. James Bradbury and Darryl Worley with picks as well. Impressive win for Carolina. They got to Aaron Rodgers and spoiled his return to the point that Green Bay's out. They put Aaron Rodgers on the IR, so big win for Carolina. Tampa Bay coming up next. That should be an easy win, especially at home. So nothing more to say. Carolina Panthers coming in at number 4. So Bullock, how does How does that strike you?
That sounds good to me with the Carolina Panthers at number 4. So let's move on to number 3.
It's rare that this happens, but for the next 2 spots, numbers 3 and 2, I have ties. Number 1 is a standalone. My co-number 3s, the Philadelphia Eagles and the Jacksonville Jaguars. I had to drop Philly down from 2 to 3, and here's the reason. They almost lost to the Giants. Oh, how humiliating that would have been if they had lost to the Giants. Griminy, but they've won 2 in a row, 12 and 2, best record in the league. They control their own destiny for the home field. They got the Raiders coming in on Christmas night. How do you almost lose to the Giants? Dude, that I can't even fathom that. They almost lost to the G-Men. Oh, that would have been so humiliating for this team. I mean, losing Carson Wentz is one thing, but to lose to the dud Giants, oof. Man, that would have been awful. But nonetheless, they found a way to get it done, 34-29. I mean, they trailed 20-7 before they came back. One sack and 1 pick of Eli Manning, Nick Foles, 4 touchdown passes in the win. Running game did next to nothing. Nelson Aguilar, Zach Ertz, Alshon Jeffrey, and Trey Burton had the receiving scores. And Brandon Graham with a sack. Ronald Darby with a 37-yard interception return. So I got to go with Philadelphia as my first number 3, and my other number 3 is going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars. Postseason bound for the first time since 2007. Congratulations to them. Well deserved. Beat up on the Houston Texans. They've won 3 in a row, 10 and 4. They pretty much control their own destiny to win the South. A win against the 49ers, they'll do just that, regardless of what Tennessee does against the Rams. 45-7 over Houston. Easy win. Defense with 4 sacks and a pick of T.J. Yates. Blake Bortles over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. Corey Grant, a rushing touchdown. Tommy Bohannon, 2 rushing touchdowns. Keelan Cole, 186 yards and a score. Very impressive. Jaden Mickens, 2 receiving touchdowns, 61 yards. Calais Campbell, 2 sacks. Malik Jackson with 1. And Dante Fowler Jr. with the other. And Barry Church with the interception, taking them to church, literally. So, nothing more to say here. Philadelphia Eagles, Jacksonville Jaguars, co-number 3s. So, Oleg, it's yours.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. The Philadelphia Eagles and the Jacksonville Jaguars are my number 3 as well. So let's move on to number 2.
And it's a tie at number 2. The Pittsburgh Steelers and the Los Angeles Rams. Pittsburgh Steelers, game of the year, game of the century. You really can't punish them for that effort. I mean, it took a fluky bounce interception by Daron Harmon. That's what sealed it. I mean, give the Steelers credit, man. I mean, they had New England dead to rights almost had them dead to rights. I mean, that was a game that we'll never forget. It was a game of the century, game of the year, 5-star Shakespearean drama classic. Defense with 2 sacks and an interception of Tom Brady. Ben Roethlisberger, 281 yards, 2 TDs, threw a pick. Le'Veon Bell, 117 yards, rushing and a touchdown. Juju Smith-Schuster, 114 yards. Martavis Bryant, 59 yards and a touchdown. Of course, the clubbing blow, Antonio Brown, with the calf injury, done for the remainder of the regular season, but should be back in time for the divisional. At least he'll be back for the playoffs. We don't know if it'll be the wild card round of the divisionals. we'll see how it plays out. Cameron Hayward and Bud Dupree with the sacks. Vince Williams had the interception, 13 yards. Just an all-around impressive effort. They had it. They had him beat. They came up just short. Very demoralizing loss. So Pittsburgh Steelers first number 2. And my other number 2 was the Los Angeles Rams. Going into Seattle, beating up on the Seahawks, 42-7. They now control their own destiny for the West. All they have to do is beat the Titans in Nashville on Sunday, and they will win the NFC West for the first time in a long time. Oh, my goodness. Defense recorded 7 sacks of Russell Wilson. Jared Goff didn't have to do much, a couple of TD passes. Todd Gurley did the rest. 152 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground. Also had a receiving touchdown. Robert Woods had the other. 7 sacks for the defense, including 3 by Aaron Donald, 2 by Robert Quinn, 1 by Connor Barwin, and half a sack apiece from Michael Brockers and Matt Longacre. The most impressive performance by the Los Angeles Rams, or the Rams franchise in general, I've seen in a long time. Seattle is a very tough place to win, but they went in there and they took care of business. So impressive. So they had to be rewarded handsomely. So number 2s, Pittsburgh Steelers, Los Angeles Rams. Well, look how about it. Bullock, are you there? Okay, I guess we lost him. All right. I'll just wrap it up here. Number 1, no question about it, the New England Patriots. Going into Pittsburgh, beating the Steelers. Great comeback. A vintage New England Patriot comeback. They always find a way to win, and this game proved it. 27-24. Defense with 2 sacks and a pick of Ben Roethlisberger. Tom Brady, 298 yards and a touchdown. Deion Lewis, Rex Burkhead, touchdowns. Rushing, Brandon Cooks, the receiving touchdown. Gronk over 100 yards in his return. 168 yards. And Lawrence Guy with the sack. Daron Harmon with that game-ending interception. The game of the century. Patriots control their own destiny for the home field. They got Buffalo coming in, and then they got the Jets coming in. So should be easy wins for both. So really nothing more to say. New England Patriots number 1. So we're just going to put a bow on this edition of NFL Friday. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in. For a special shout outs to all of our tremendous fans and viewers out there who continue to make our shows as over as they are. We appreciate it as always. Dee Dee Woodson, Kevin Woodson and the Woodson family, Matt Ward, Jason Hicksenbaugh, Ayla Trull from the UK, our other First Ladies, Kaiser Butler, Megan Silva, and Lexi Calloway. Our crew members, Tommy Souza, Eric Carrier, Jimmy Alden, Albert Edison, and Rob Parsons, and our personalities from 6, 10, and 12, ESPN, FS1, NHL Network, MLB Network, NFL Network, NBA TV, Julie Alexandria, Chantel McKay from the Golf Channel, Stata Sorrell, Lindsay McCormick, our friends from the Road Show, Will Gilbert, Brendan Kirby, Michaela Johnson, and former co-hosts Megan Mooney and Mary Larson. And of course, last but not least, my wonderful church family and friends over at Oasis of Grace Ministries on 464 Silver Spring Street in Providence. If you need a church home, check them out, exit 25 off Route 95. No Sunday morning Bible study for a couple weeks. There will be Sunday service, however. That'll be sometime after 10 Sunday. And no Wednesday Bible study either because of the holidays. So that's pretty much it. So that puts the bow on this. Not sure what the status is for next week. Monday night there will not be Ridiculously Raw due to the Christmas holiday. I'm not sure if it's going to be pushed back to Tuesday or Wednesday. I'll have to check in with Derek on that. Keep an eye out on our on our respective Facebook pages, Cerebral Smack Talk, and of course NFL Friday next week, week 17, the divisional games. So we'll get into that, and that's pretty much it. So until we see you next time, Merry Christmas, everybody. We hope you all have a very merry and blessed Christmas with your family. And on behalf of all of us here, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed weekend and Christmas with your families. And before we go, we want to once again pay our respects and our condolences to Dick Enberg, who passed away just about this time last night. So, as we always customarily say it, thank you for the memories. Thank you for the inspiration. But most of all, thank you for Dick Enberg. Rest in peace and Godspeed, my friend. We'll never forget you. Until next week, Anthony Floyo here for Michael Bullock and in spirit. Doodle MF, Michael Fletcher, Dee Woodson, and Derek Ferreira. Bullet Club Soldier 445. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah, throw the Fortune Forest tile. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed Christmas with your families. And until we see you next week, you've been watching Strictly Sports NFL Friday right here on the Tone 25 on YouTube.com. For now, and for everybody who's been a part of this one, for now, Anthony Floyo, so long. And rest in peace, Dick Enberg. Thank you for the memories. God bless you, my friend. Good night, everybody. So long.